All right, we've got our little diesel ZR2 in the shop here for an oil change and a tire rotation. But you know what? It's on the lift. Let's go ahead and do some mods while it's here. All right, so 3 items we're going to address in this phase. One being the diff cover. We've got right here an AEV diff cover, an AEV Diff Slider, and then we've also got some Rago Fab shock skids. So if you've got one of these trucks, you know good and well these shock mounts hang down really far. I've seen tons of people get damage, just minor trail riding damage. So what we're going to do for this phase is put this skid on that will kind of protect this area. And once 589 Fab releases their relocation kit, or not releases it, but once they get it back in stock, we're going to get one of those for our truck as well. That way we can get this whole mount right here taken off, maybe do a U-bolt flip kit, something like that. But let's get started. All right, so first thing we're going to do is drain the diff cover. Basically 13 millimeters all the way around, so we'll pull this thing off. One thing we really like about AEV diff covers is they've got this huge fill hole. It's got a plug, uses like a 3/8 drive ratchet to tighten it up, and there's an O-ring, so that'll go in there. But to fill it, you can either just dump quarts in there, or we've got actually a 5-gallon jug and we'll pump it in there. But here's your check plug, so you'll fill it in here until the fluid level gets even with this plug or starts to slightly come out of that. Then we'll pop our plug back in. There's a little recessed area right there. We've got a nice little AEV decal that's going to stick in there. They give you some alcohol prep just to get that stuff, any goo, or to get a good adhesion there. So once you get that in place, you just kind of apply pressure for about a minute. I would recommend on this O-ring putting a little gear lube on it. You'll feel it bottom out, so when it stops, just give it one little extra tug and should be good to go. All right, moving on to our next modification is the AEV Diff Slider. This is what they call, I guess, hot stamp boron. It's kind of thin, but super abrasion resistant and really sturdy. So that thing basically just attaches right there. And then we've got a support strap that goes over the top of it. And then we'll have this 15 millimeter head bolt here. And then another one right here. And then back here on the back, we've got a U-bolt on each side. Okay, now that we've got the front started, we've got these 2 U-bolts. They kind of just go around the axle. They go around the cast part of the axle housing and fit in there like so. And then we also have a couple of 15 millimeter head nuts that go on that as well. So basically, if you've got a 15 millimeter socket or wrench or ratchet, whatever, you can install this diff skid in a matter of 15 minutes or less. All right, we're just going to go over those with the ratchet, make sure we're tight. I'm not sure what the torque spec is, but just don't overdo it. One thing to note, these U-bolts on the side kind of come in at an angle, and the skid plate's actually stamped for those to come in at an angle. Some people may look at that and think that something's wrong, but that's perfectly normal. But we just want to go over these. I'm gonna guess probably in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 foot-pounds. But you'll know when it's tight, and you'll know if it's too tight, because you'll break something. All right, now we have our diff cover and our diff slider. As you can see here on this slider, kind of comes up and wraps under the bottom of the diff cover, so it kind of protects. You got two areas of, or two levels of protection. Once it gets to, backing into something, rear impact, and then also assistance sliding over obstacles. Really a nice piece. We'll give you an all-around shot. I've seen a lot of people upgrade these aluminum drive shafts to a steel unit. We probably will do that eventually once we see a failure there. Hopefully it doesn't leave us stranded whenever that does happen. Once again, that's a cool looking diff cover. Real easy to service now. Still retains your drain plug. All right, let's move on to our next item. All right, so we have the advantage of working on a lift. So in this application, we're going to use a pole jack just to support the axle. Just put a little pressure up on the axle. This is a 21, so we're going to pop that off now. We can put a little pressure on that axle, and that bolt slides right out, and we can see we can freely get in there. All right, so this dust cover or stone shield has to come off. That's a 2.5 millimeter. So we'll take those little screws off, and we're going to save these because we may end up putting these stone shields back on if we ever get this 589 Fab shock relocation kit, which really looks cool. Anxious to see some more of that. If you've done that to your ZR2, please share it to our page there. So this thing will slide off the bottom, and we're just going to say, like I said, we're going to save those two bolts and that stone shield. All right, so this is the passenger side. This is the bracket that I was telling you about that goes right here. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to trim that little tab off. That way we can fit it back in there, hopefully, and get our 13 millimeter bolt back in the side there. All right, so that actually fits back in there. I don't know if they intend for it to do that or not, but there's just enough room to get a socket in there to pinch that thing tight. And I would recommend rolling it toward the rear just to give you clearance where that cable runs near the shock body. So as that shock body comes up, it'll still clear that cable just fine. But yeah, now we have some completed shock skids. So while we were at it, we decided let's just take this thing on to the exhaust shop. And we got rid of that big old huge long tailpipe that hung out way out here, and now it's tucked up nicely up under the truck. Give us a little more clearance there. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, hit that share button if there is one. If not, you know what to do. Thanks for watching.